Hi guys. Hi everyone. Yay, there's so many of you already. That's awesome. Okay, I'm gonna give everyone maybe another minute or two to join and then we'll start. And this is what we're painting today. So make sure you have your paints and your brushes and your canvases ready. And in a second, we'll go through our supplies as well. We'll make sure we have everything that we need for today before we start. But again, I'm gonna give everyone maybe another minute to join us before we actually start going through painting and supplies. And in the meantime, feel free to say hi in chat. Guys, for those of you who've never met me, my name is Vera. I'll be your instructor. Woohoo! Oh, I see so many people from different places. That is awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Carmen, yes, this is a live session. Guys, for those of you who may be new to live sessions and you've never done this, the video will be recorded and it will stay on YouTube, so you can rewatch it. If let's say you can't finish it today, something comes up, you have to go, or you're at work right now and you just tuned in for the sake of it, but you can't paint. No worries, you will be able to do that later because video will stay up here for a while, pretty much forever. Yay! So glad. All right, guys, there are quite a few of us, so I think we can start. Welcome again, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Vera. I'll be your instructor, and I'll show you how to paint this. It is not very difficult, but it does have its moments. It has the things. There are a lot of work here. It's very particular style in a way, as you can see. It's like large brush strokes. There's a lot of movement here. Clouds, maybe a little tricky, and branches and a fluff on a tree. But overall, this is a really fun painting. And of course, you can change your colors. If let's say you would like to have a bit more orange and less purple, no problem. You can go higher with orange. If you want a more pink, you can go higher with your pink. Whatever you want to do with it, you can do it, no problem. All right, so guys, let's go through our paints and other supplies and make sure we have everything that we need. So first of all, of course, you're gonna need some sort of painting surface. In my case, it's a canvas and it's a big one. It's 16 by 20 inch canvas. So pretty big. If you wanna go with smaller one, no problem, you can. It actually is a little easier to go a little smaller. So maybe half of this would be faster and easier. But if you wanna go the same size, no problem at all. If you wanna go bigger, that's totally fine too. And of course, if you wanna use paper, cardboard, wood, you can. It doesn't have to be just the canvas. Next thing we're gonna need is water. So make sure you have a little bit of painting water here. You're gonna need a palette or two. I usually have quite a few of those laying around. In my case, this is just plates, paper plates. But if you have actual palette, good for you. You can use that. If not, Tupperware lid, piece of cardboard, anything you can find, you can use it. We will need a paper towel or a cloth. Today, I usually use a cloth, but I don't know where it is. So today it's gonna be a paper towel. So make sure you have something to dab your brush on. Then we will need our brushes. As always, I will be using 3 different brushes, large, medium, and small. In my case, my large and my medium brushes are square, and my small brush is this little pointy thing. Yours can be any size. For this particular painting, doesn't matter at all what shape are your brushes. As long as you have a couple different brushes in size, it's all good. Patty, my size is 16 by 20 inch, but you can use any size. This is actually not the easiest size to work with. Smaller is a little easier if you want to go with smaller one. Exciting. All right. I think I'm all caught up on comments. Guys, I'm going to be checking the chat to the best of my ability. But if I miss something, please just copy paste it again or type it again, and I will try to respond to all the comments. And of course, we're gonna need paint. So as always, I'm using just the primary colors. So I have white, black, pinky, red, yellow, and blue. And that's all it is. And I'll be mixing them into all shades of this. Now, if you guys are very fancy and you have a large set of pre-mixed colors, what you could use a couple different shades of purple, because there's a lot of purple going on in this section. There's some purple going on here. You can use oranges for this. You can use pinks. We're gonna need pinks, blues, yellows. So if you have a large set, good. Just whenever we get to a certain step, see what you have out of your paint that matches the best and use that. But if you have primaries, that's good too, because we will mix them along. I'll mix them with you. All right, so if we are ready to start, we will start with wetting our canvas. That is only for people who are using large canvas. Let's say you use canvas that's like 8 by 10, you don't have to wet it. We only wet it because it's hard to spread large quantity of paint even and then blend it well when you're using larger canvas. So if you're not using larger canvas, don't worry about it. If you are using larger canvas, grab the biggest brush you have, dip it in the water, and we're gonna wet it. In my case, I'm gonna wet it horizontally, and I'm not gonna be wetting it like a crazy wet, but I will wet it a bit. Emma, this painting, well, depends how fast we go, right? I can do this in half an hour, but for the sake of you guys, I'm gonna try to go with about 1.5 hours. If we have people who are trying to paint along, but they find that it's a little bit too fast, I can slow down, or if we're all on the same page and we're all moving fast, then we might be finished in 1 hour. So I would say anywhere between 1 hour and 2 hours. But again, you can always work from the recording. You can scroll back on this, even as it is live, you can scroll back on the video and rewatch certain sections, which is a cool option. All right, so my canvas is pretty wet, as you can see on a glare of it. Now, once I have my wet canvas, I'm gonna start filling my background. So we will start by filling our background flat, which is gonna cover it all up. Do you see all those brush strokes, all the clouds, all the waves, all those gonna be added on top of the flat background. Right now, we don't worry about them. We just need a flat coverage, and then we'll work over that flat coverage. And I'm going to start with this very, very saturated bright pink. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put on my palette. I'm actually gonna put all the colors on my palette right away because we will use all of them. So I'm gonna put all white, yellow, blue, red, and black. If you're using pre-mixed colors, you don't have to do that yet because you don't know what's coming. You don't know what colors you will be using. So just hold off. If you're using primaries, you could totally put all of them on your palette. Julia, yes, it's gonna stay up here. If you would like to do this later, it's not going anywhere. So anytime is good. All right, I have my colors, my primary colors, all right here on my palette. Now I'm gonna start mixing my hot pink. Whoa. All right, so I'm gonna start with white. I'm gonna scoop some white, and then I'm gonna add a little bit of my primary red, actually way more than that, and mix it. It should be like a very saturated pink. In my case, my primary red is more like a magenta, dark magenta. So if you have a choice between darker pink or more like orangey red for this one, use darker pink. Or if you have pre-mixed pink, which I know a lot of people do, That will work perfectly fine. Let me try this. Oh yeah, that's a beautiful color. That's exactly the color that I want here. And guys, notice how I tried a smidge of it on my canvas. You always want to try a little bit on your canvas before you commit to a color, because sometimes it will look certain way on your palette because maybe your palette already has a lot of paint on it. So in comparison, in contrast to the colors that, let's say, you see on my palette right now, it looks pretty light, but once you try it there, you know it's dark. So that's why always have like a smidge of it on the canvas to see if you like the color before you commit to it. That way, if you don't like it, you can just adjust it. Yes, only when you're painting if you have big canvas. This is acrylic painting, and guys, if by any chance you decide to use oil, which is totally fine, no problem, do not wet your canvas. Acrylic is water-based paint. That's why we're wetting our canvas. You do not want to wet canvas for an oil painting. Big no-no. All right, so now I'm going to put one line at about 1/3 from the bottom. So somewhere around here. And it's going to go all the way. Preferably straight. If it's not very straight, that's okay too. And then I'm going to start going up with this. So I'm going to start adding more brush strokes. Going up. So I think this is about how much I'm going to go up. And what I'm going to do right away is I'm going to add this paint to the edges of my canvas, because after I'm done, what I want it to look like, I want this image to be almost wrapped around the edges of the canvas. So for me to do that, it's much easier to do it right away as we go than having to mix the same color later on. If you're using pre-mixed paints, you might be okay doing it later too, just because you don't have to mix your colors. But for everyone who's doing primaries, it is easier to do it now than having to do that later. So I'm going to take care of my edges right away as well. And guys, for the background for this chunk, we kind of need to go fast. And I'll tell you why, because it blends much easier if this paint is still wet. If this paint dries by the time we add this color and we try to blend them, we're going to have a very hard time. It is much easier and you will get nicer results with less effort if the second color, you finished adding second color while your first color is still wet. So as soon as you have your first color, we're going to move on to our second color pretty much right away. And our second color is going to be light purple. So what we will do, we are going to make it, you can use the same color as a base if you want. You can use this pink, or you can make a whole new color, totally up to you. I think I'm going to make a new color. So I'm going to start with white again. Then I'm going to add a little bit of pink or red. Make a lighter pink. Do you see it's lighter in comparison to my first one? And then I will add just the tiniest smidge of blue to it to make it light purple. So let me try this and see. Nope, not purple enough. Needs to be a little bluer. Okay. Let's see how that is. You see, it almost looks like gray on my palette, but only because it's in contrast to the other colors. Really, it is not gray. It is perfect purple. So this is the color I'm using. That's how it looks on my palette. And again, this is how it looks on my canvas, which is the truer version of it. You can see it better on this white background versus on my 100 million times painted palette. So I'm going to give you all a second to do this. And in the meantime, I'm going to quickly check the chat here and see if anyone has questions. And then we'll move on to adding this color before our first one dries. Tracy, yes, you could totally see this later. All right, no one has questions. That's good, guys. But generally, if you do have questions, feel free to ask. Chat is there for that particular reason. If you have questions, or if you actually just falling behind and you want us to wait for you another minute, that's no problem at all. All right, so I'm gonna go right above my first color first. So do you see I'm not adding it right over. I'm adding it so it doesn't touch at first. So I'm gonna add like maybe the mid of the section, uncovered section. So half of the section I'm gonna paint with this light purple. And then I'm gonna go down to my pink. You see, right to my pink. And I'll do the sides right away too. And now I'm gonna start blending. So this is the moment we were waiting for. That's why we adding them while the first one is still wet. We cannot wait too long here because we wanna blend them well. So how you blend, just don't refill your brush after you have this light purple on top. So don't refill your brush, just continue going down, and you will see, because you don't have too much paint left on your brush and this one is still wet, it's gonna be picking up that paint and spreading. So do you see, following the same brush strokes left and right, I'm gonna go down into my pink. And then I'm gonna go up into my purple. And then I will go down again. So a couple brush strokes down, couple brush strokes up. And what it does, it picks up some wet purple up here and spreads it down. And it picks up some wet pink right here and spreads it up. So it creates a nice transition color. You don't need to have a perfect blending, but this is good. As long as it doesn't look like you cut out two stripes of other colors and just stuck them on, and you have some sort of transition, it's all good. And also, you're not gonna see much of it because we're gonna add so many clouds on there that all of that will be covered by clouds. Okay, I'm gonna give you guys a minute to do this, and then we have to move to our final color. And again, the same reason, we have to do this almost right away because we cannot let this dry fully. If it dries fully, we're gonna have a hard time blending, but I can definitely give you another minute. For those of you who are wondering about the floral pictures in the background, that is actually a fabric. That is not a painting. It's just a really cool fabric that I found, and it makes me very, very happy. I'm not a big fan of white walls, and I didn't want to put painting behind the painting because then you might get distracted, and I'll probably get a lot of questions which exactly painting we're painting, this one or the one behind. So it's just a tapestry, but it is nice. I love it too. I think it's great. We are using acrylic student grade acrylic paints. I am using a couple of different brands here. This is one of them, and another one is this one. But you guys are free to use any paint that you want. But of course, I would recommend acrylic. Do I clean brushes for the next color? Absolutely, yes, 100%. You see, mine is nice and clean. And I would generally recommend washing off your brush right away. As soon as you're done with certain color, unless you're using very compatible color, and I will tell you when you are, so you don't have to wait to wash your brush, but generally it is always safer to just wash it right away. All right, I'm gonna move on to the top color. And again, guys, for the same reason, we just need to move fast here, at least on these three colors, so we can wait after that, but this cannot dry, so we have to move on to following color right away. So that one is going to be like a bluer purple, and it's going to be about medium. So I will start mixing a new color. So I'm going to start with blue now. I'm going to scoop some primary blue on the side. After that, I'm going to add some white to it to lighten it up a little, because you see it's pretty dark by itself. And once I have enough white and it more like medium blue versus dark blue, I'm going to start adding red little by little until I get the right shade. And I don't want it super like reddy purple. I want it more on the blue side. So I'll just be adding red touch by touch until I feel like I have the right color. Okay, I think this should be good. I got a little too dark, so I'm gonna add another smidge of white. All right, I think this is the one. I'm pretty sure that's the one. But let me try it on my, do you see guys here? But let me try it quickly on my canvas first, of course. Oh yeah, that is the one. And with this color, I'm gonna go on top and I will cover this last sec. Whoops, that's not ideal, but it's fine. There are gonna be clouds there. Okay, so I'm gonna cover this last section. You see I'm starting from the very top and I'm bringing it down to my light purple. I don't start from the light purple. And only once I covered that whole section and I brought it right to my light purple, I'm gonna start blending it in. The same way we blended it between here and here, the same way I'm gonna blend this into this. So I am not refilling my brush. I have a little bit of this blue-y purple color left on it. So I'm just gonna continue going down using the same brush strokes, left and right, left and right. So basically like this. But you wanna do this when you only have a tiny touch of paint left because you don't want to have too much paint. If you have too much paint, it defeats the purpose. It's not going to look blended. It's going to look like you're just continuing going down with purple and you want to have the blending. So just make sure your brush is almost out of paint before you start doing that. And you see, it brings you nice transition color. And again, I'm going to do the edges too because I haven't done the edges yet. But I will do them now because I want this to look like it is all the way image everywhere, including the edges once we're done. Okay, and now guys, I can give you a couple of minutes and wait because now we don't need this wet. We are good. We're done with the top. This is our base. We're happy with it. We don't really need to do anything to it now. And the top too. It looks really nice. Or at least I like it. I like the look. All right, guys, and now I'll give you some time to do this. I'll give you like 2-3 minutes. And in the meantime, I'm going to check the comments. I don't have a feeling. Thank you so much. I am really glad. And thank you. Line, thanks for joining us. Julia, we get our paints in Curry's. I don't know where you're located because, you know, virtual events, we're all around the world. We are here in Durham region, Canada. So Durham region, Ontario, to be exact. So we have our store called Curry's. This is where we get them. This one, for example, is also available at Michael's Artist Loft, but we only use usually them white and black. The rest, and actually black this one too. The rest we usually use starred, and again, price point. That's why we use it because it is good value for the money. This jar costs very, very affordable. Would highly recommend it. I wouldn't be able to tell you price on top of my head, but if you look on their website, you'll see it. And they do deliver. Yay, Susan. Wine is great. Oh, okay. So Lynn, gotcha. Thanks, Shelby. Thanks, all of you guys. If I didn't call you by name, that's only because there are too many nice messages. Good problems to have, you know, good problems to have. Thank you all so much for joining us. Glad you're having fun. And yes, I love this one too. It's a really nice color scheme. It's a happy colors. Very happy colors. And guys, once you have it, once you feel like you have all this section, Please let me know in chat as well. That way I have a general idea of how many of us are good to go, how many of us are still working. So then we can move when majority of us are ready to move. Yes, Deborah, you're right. So guys, yes, good point. If you're working with paper, you're gonna need to blend faster. Canvas, and especially because we wetted it, gives us ability to blend, to wait a little longer for our paint to dry. So blend not right away. So it gives me ability to wait for everyone to catch up and then blend. If I was working with paper, you're right. We'll have to blend right away because it dries fast. Or another option too, if you find that generally some acrylic dries faster than other too. So it depends on what brand you're using and a lot of other factors. So if you find that your acrylic dries way too fast, just add a thicker layer or water it down a little bit. With paper, watering down not going to work. With canvas will work, but adding a thicker layer will work with paper too. Rona, not necessarily, because we're not going to be touching it for some time. We're going to move on to the bottom right now. So we will start with the bottom, and after our bottom is done, then if this is not dry and it's too wet, then you can use hair dryer. For right now, just leave it. If you want to, if you already have hair dryer out and you're just waiting, you could hair dry it, but it's not completely necessary either. So totally up to you. Yay, good to go. I see some good to goes. Yes, Wendy, that was a good deal. And they will last you a while too. Yay. All right, I see lots of ready. That's good. Makes me happy. I'll show you this one now again. So do you see we have just the base for it right now? Now we're gonna move on to this bottom part. And we will do it in a couple different colors too. We're gonna start with the lighter color here. Then we're gonna put darker purple on the sides and then the same blue right here. Well, we can actually start working with the blue too. Doesn't matter. If we already have it pre-mixed, we might as well, but it really doesn't matter at all where you start. But it's going to be 3 colors. This blue, it's hard to see because there's a lot of black there too. Then it's going to be purple, then it's going to be light purple, and then the purple again. You can use a large brush here, you can use medium brush, whichever works. It depends how big your canvas and how big is that space, but either one should work too. All right, so let's start with blue actually. Why not? We already have it mixed. So I'm going to grab my large brush and the same paint that I used right here. If you don't have it, mix it again. And you remember how we mixed it, right? It was blue, white, and then you continue adding red little by little until you get to the right color. You don't want it too red, but you do want it a bit more on a purple side. All right, let me try. Yes, that's a good color. So now with this color, I'm gonna put a line right here. How far? I would say about 1/3 from this side. Maybe a little more. And then I'm gonna brush stroke it. Yeah, go a little more than 1/3. And right away, I will do the edge too. And I'll wash off my brush right away. The same color, so the same color used here, or you can make it a little bluer. I had to mix mine again because I had a little left, but I ran out. So I mixed a little more and it turned out a little bluer, and that's totally fine. It doesn't have to be precise. This is all about layering upon layering upon layering. So if you still have this, you can use just straight that color. If you don't mix something similar, it doesn't turn out exactly, not a big deal. And guys, here we have to go right away too before it dries, because again, blending. And here we're not going to do that perfect blending that we did here. It's going to be more brushstrokey. So next color we're going to move on is going to be slightly lighter and actually purple. So very purple, as purple as you can get it. And what makes purple is blue, red or pink, and white. But this time you're going to need way more red in your color than blue, because generally blue is more dominant color, so you always need less blue and more red to make actual purple. You can use the same color as a base if you want to. We're not really going to use it anywhere anymore. Or you can save it, totally up to you. I'm going to use the same color. I'm just going to add a whole bunch more red to it. And some white, which is very important too, because you don't want it that crazy dark. I think this should be a good color. But again, I'm going to try this. You see, it's quite purple. It's as purple as you can get it. And it's about medium. It's not too dark. So I'm going to try a smidge of it and see if that's the color that I like. That is exactly the color that I like. You see, it's quite purple. It's just like nice medium purple. So with this color, now I'm going to start using the top edge of my brush. And as I mentioned earlier, if you guys want to switch to, sorry, not a medium brush, I'm going to use the top edge of my large brush. If you guys want to switch to medium brush, go for it, because we're working with a smaller area here and we're making smaller brush strokes in general. So you might find it easier to use medium brush, but totally up to you. Whichever one you use, all good. Okay, so I'm going to use the top edge and I'll start adding brush strokes here. You see, it is blending, but I'm not doing that perfect blending. I'm intentionally making it a bit brushstrokey, which is what I want it to be. I want it to be this brushstrokey. And then I'm going to add purple from the other side in the same manner. And I will color my edge too. Done. Actually, I want to go a little more with purple, closer to the middle. Yep, that's great. I'm happy. Sylvia, you're funny. You can totally come back later, no problem. If you guys have to go for whatever reason and you want to come back later and finish it later, no problem at all. It will be here for you. And again, I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes. I can't give you too long. Again, we have to do this while this is still wet, but I can definitely give you a couple minutes. It's okay. If you covered all your white, that's not a big deal. And as always, once you guys have it, give me a thumbs up or some other sign so I know that you're good to go. When do we paint the bottom? Yes, last. If you want to paint it at all, just because you're not going to have, if you paint it now, you're not going to have time to dry it before we have to put it down and start painting on it again. So it's always best to paint it last. And also bottom is not like critical thing to paint because usually you hang it around the eye level, right? So you're really going to see the bottom unless you put it on top, like over the couch, and then you sit down, then you're going to see the top, the bottom. Usually what you see is the sides and the top. So it's good to have them done. Bottom optional, but of course it's good to have bottom done too. I agree. Wouldn't hurt. No, don't add white. If you guys got accidentally get rid of white, you don't have any white left, that's no problem. Just let it stay. And we will add lighter pink here, so you will have white premixed in your pink. So don't, if you add white right now, you're not going to be able to work on that spot because it's going to be too wet. All right, so I have lots and lots of readies. That's great. I know you have to put your glass with water that you're drinking and your painting water literally on a different size of your table or your painting station, because I know by experience it happens all the time that you're going to reach for the wrong water or dip your brush in your drinking water, which is more of my problem. I usually dip my brush in my drinking water at some point in the night. So it's good to have them separate just to be safe. And if you do accidentally drink the wrong water, it's not dangerous. It's just gross. So it's not going to taste good, but you're not going to die, hopefully. I mean, I tried that too, didn't I? I'm all right. Yeah, see, you did it too. Okay. So join the club. Well, hopefully not. It's gross, but if you guys accidentally drink your painting water, you're going to be in a good company with us. Ready, ready, awesome. All right, let's do our last color before our purple fully dries, and that's gonna be pink that is similar to this. So do you see pink that's between this pink or light purple? So anywhere, any shade similar to this is good. If you want it a bit darker, you could go to like hot pink. If you want it a little lighter, you could go to like light purple, but any shade that is located somewhere here is good. And you can mix it the same way. It's just white and red for pink, and it's just white and red and a touch of blue for light purple. I'm going to use my medium brush for this because I think there's not enough space for the big brush anymore. So make sure you wash off your big brush before you put it aside though. And then I'm going to grab my medium brush, some white paint. I'll add some red paint to it, make some pink. Maybe I'll add a touch of blue. Let's see. No, it needs to be pinker. Yeah, that's good. All right, so now we're just gonna color it in here with this color that we chose, whatever that may be. Or if you're very fancy, you can add a couple different shades of pink here too. It doesn't have to be just one shade of pink. The most important thing here is you don't want to see any white canvas. So you want to get rid of all the white canvas in that spot. So again, I'm going to give you guys a second to do this, and then we're going to move still on the bottom. We'll add another color before it dries. So we want to add it pretty fast. If this is almost dry, not a big deal. Like, it doesn't affect it, but it is better to add it while it's still sort of wet, at least on a pink section. We will add darker purple there. Do you see we had purple here? That was like a medium purple. So we're going to go with a little bit darker purple for the next color. But again, I will give you another minute. No rush. All right, guys, I'm going to check the chat for now. My blogs. No, that is a tapestry. And I agree. It does look like a painting. I love it. Melissa, my background is Russian. As you guys probably noticed, I have a very nice accent. It's not very Canadian. I mean, I am Canadian, but this is clearly a Russian accent right here. Yes, don't dip your paint into your wine. Wine is more expensive than water. You don't want to ruin that delicious drink. All right. I'm caught up on all your messages. Yay. Oh, thank you. Yay, Susan. Thanks. Yeah, you guys make me happy. That's why I smile when I look at chats. Because it feels like we're actually in the same room, like, right? The communication. Best part. I love it. Thanks, guys. You're so sweet. All right, how is our pink? Can we move on purple or not yet? Couple more minutes. What do you think? Yeah, Sherry, you can actually scroll to the beginning right now. If you're all set and you have paints in front of you and you still want to do it right now, you don't have to wait until it's done. You can just scroll to the beginning and start watching from the beginning. But it will be available later too. All right, awesome. I see lots of ready. So guys, now we're gonna mix a purple that's a little darker. So just less white this time, but still you need it to be on a redder side. When you look at it, it needs to be between purple and a wine color. So it needs to be more like a redder purple. So just use more red mixing it. I still have a little bit of this purple, so I'm just gonna add more red and blue to it to darken it up. I think this should be good. You see, it's much, much darker and it's quite purple. This one. So I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna see if it works first before I say that's the one. And we're gonna use medium brush, or you can even use small brush for this. Oh, it is the one. Totally. All right, so this is the one. That's what we're gonna use for next color. Nameless Child, you could totally watch this one. Just scroll to the beginning. And also it's gonna stay recorded on our channel in case you wanted to do it over the weekend or some other day. And yay. All right, so now we're gonna start adding those brush strokes. Let me show you. They're kind of wavy in a way, and I'll be doing them with the top edge of my brush here. So like this. Pretty much all across. That's why I'm saying you might want to try it with a small brush too, because it depends on how big is your medium brush, because you don't want them too thick. You don't want to accidentally cover all your earlier colors. You just want to add them on top. And you see they're more like a crisscross in a way. Just so you're adding waves. Okay, so I have all the bottom with this purple. Yes, Deborah, sorry. I completely understand that. No problem. Having the video that you can pause and fast forward is definitely a good solution. And guys, after this, we're going to move on to our top. So we'll let all of this on the bottom dry up, and we're going to move on to our top. So we're going to start adding clouds and some sunset right here. But again, you can have another minute to finish up this purple. No rush. Yay! Emma, no, it's not going to ruin it. Mine's pretty wet too. You just have to see, try one piece and see if it sticks. If the paint stays when you put it on, it's fine. You can go ahead. If you feel like it lifts the paint underneath, then yes, let it dry a little bit. Or some cat. That is what we're making. A sunset painting. All right, guys, let's move on our sunset. It's sunset time. So we're gonna need medium brush again, nice and clean, so wash it off really well. And we're gonna need some yellows, some oranges, and some hot pinks for starters. So we're gonna start with orange. So we're gonna make orange. And you will need yellow, red, and white for this. So I'm gonna start with the base of yellow. Always start your orange with yellow. It's fine now. I don't have many clean spots left on this palette. Okay, let's go there. So yellow, then some white, mix it up, and then some red. And again, I'm gonna try this on my canvas first. Nope, too light, needs more red. Oh yeah, this is good. So this is the color I'm gonna be using. Not this one, this was my first try, the yellow one. This one, the orange. It's like really, really orange. This is the color. And with the top edge of my brush, or you could use small brush if you want to, again, depends on the size of your brushes and on the size of your canvas. We're gonna add quite a few brush strokes right here. So you start right on top of this path. You see I start bottom with more solid brush strokes, and then as I go higher, they get lighter and lighter and lighter. This is a closer look to what that looks like. If you want to add a bit more, actually, that's fine, but a bit less is fine too. And then I'm going to add a little bit of that orange from the side, right here. And I will add a little bit from this side too, but just a touch. If you have a peachy color, you need more of both red and yellow. You just have a little too much white if it's peachy. Hey guys, welcome. For those of you who are just joining us and who just came across us, welcome. So glad you're here. And I need another paper towel. This one is done. So guys, right after you have your orange, we're gonna move on to hot pink, and we'll make pink that's even more vibrant. That was nice pink. We're gonna make really dark pink now. So it's gonna be just lots of red, or if you have like a very, very hot pink pre-mixed, you can use that, no problem. Otherwise, you can just grab your red and just add a tiniest touch of white to it, so it's still like super vibrant. I'm gonna try this color and see if that is good enough. Needs more red. Okay, so this is the color I will be using right now. Do you see how bright it is? That's what I will do. So I'll take the same color, this one that I just made, on my medium brush, and I will add it in quite a few spots. I'm going to start over my orange, so around this section, but in the same brush strokey way. Very lightly. So it's important that you don't use too much paint on your brush, and you only touch the surface of your canvas very, very lightly. Because otherwise, if you push hard on your brush or use too much paint, it's going to get blobby, and if you don't want that, so you want to avoid the blobbiness. Let me show you, just for the sake of it, what it's going to look like if you push too hard with too much paint on your brush. It's going to look like this. Do you see it looks like a separate brush strokes, no blending. So to avoid that, very lightly, touch of paint on your brush and a light touch. As you go up, you can add a little more, but just very light and very transparent. Now I'll bring this on this side too. Of course, edges. Don't forget about the edges. All right. No worries. Late is better than never. Guys, the video will stay up, so you can totally do this whenever you're ready for it. So those were our horizontal clouds. We're gonna have some non-horizontal clouds too. We're gonna have some clouds that are more like on an angle. So those are we're gonna add next, and then we're gonna finish with more horizontal clouds in dark purple. But again, one thing at a time, we're getting there. Catherine, to make that bright pink, just add, it's just primary red and a smidge of white. All right, so I'm gonna move on to more of a angular clouds, and I'm gonna start with medium pink. So do you remember that pink we started with? So if you still have a little bit of that, you can use that. If not, just the same pink you just used, add a touch more white to it, make it a little lighter. And with that color, we will add some clouds that are going to be on an angle. Now with those clouds, it's very important that you use just the tiniest touch of paint and very light touch, because we want them nice and transparent and airy and fluffy. So I'm going to use the same brush, and I'm going to start adding them here. So do you see they're going to be a little on the angle like this. So let me show you. I think that's a little too dark. Okay, let me add a little more white here. Oh, okay, that's good. So do you see I'm doing like a combination of brush strokes, very lightly scraping the surface of a canvas on an angle. We'll add a couple here too. Nameless Child, you're very welcome. And Judy, I'm so glad. Thank you for telling us. And then I'll add the same color, same texture, but go in the opposite direction on the other side, just a little bit. So right here. And after that, pretty much whenever you're ready, I'm gonna add a little bit more white to the same paint we just used, and maybe a tiny smidge of blue to make it like a very light purple again. And with that color, we're gonna go on top, and we will add the same thing, but with this lighter, light purple color on the very top. And you can use either medium or a large brush. Just make sure they're nice and light. Let me show you the color I'm using for those top clouds. So I'm using this one. Do you see it's like a light purple? That's what I'm using. Susan, it really depends what brushes you have. I am using medium brush. You could use bigger brush, big one will work totally fine, but it really depends. I would say try and see out of the brushes that you have, which one works better, because we all using different brushes, right? So I'll add a little bit right here too. Of course, I will bring this all to my top as well. The top cloud color, it's basically you make pink and then you add a tiny dot of blue to make it a little more purple. Or if you have pre-mixed purple, you can just grab pre-mixed purple and white and mix them up and you'll get light purple too. It depends. No, I did not add dark blue on pink. Which place are you referring to? All right, guys, and once we have this clouds on top here, so right away, we actually gonna add another color there, and that one is gonna be that brighter pink again. So if you have a bit of that, you can grab it. Otherwise, you can grab more of a purple color, but it has to be like bright. Pink or purple is fine too. So let me try this color and see if that works. Oh yeah, that's perfect. All right, so this is the color I'm using right now. You see, it's like pink or purple. Sorry. Pink with a smidge of purple. This is on my napkin. That's what it looks like because it's easier to see this color over white. And then I'm going to add just a couple of those light cloudy brushstrokes over the same areas, but just a little less. And here too. No, I didn't add dark blue on top over pink. Oh, you mean right here? So, okay, so what we did here, we did pink, light blue, and then a bluey purple, purpley blue on top. And now we're adding clouds. And clouds, the first layer was in light purple, and second layer in like this more visible pinky color. And after we have that, we're gonna move on to purple again. And we're gonna add clouds in purple because we don't have any dark clouds yet. We only have very, very light clouds or colorful pink clouds. So we're gonna move on to purple clouds. And you can start with like a lighter purple, not light purple, not like this one, but like a medium. Do you remember the purple that we added here, the first one? You can use the same color if you still have it. If not, any medium-ish, medium light purple is good. So I still have a bit of dark purple, so I'm just gonna grab that and mix it with a little bit of white to make lighter purple, to make like a medium purple. I think this should be good. You see this? This looks like a medium purple, right? So I'm gonna try this and see how that looks. And we're gonna add them the same way pretty much. So I'm gonna start right here. I'll add a couple coming from here and the same way on the other side. Oh yeah, that's a good color. So I'm adding some clouds going there, but very lightly. And then I will do the same thing coming from the other side, but less. And of course, don't forget about your edges. So make sure you bring the same color onto your edges. All right, and I'll give you guys a minute to do this. And in the meantime, I'm gonna see if anyone has any questions in chat. Crystal, yes, this is gonna stay on our YouTube pretty much forever. So you can do this later on, no problem. Yes, clouds are a lot of fun. I love clouds too. A lot. All right, so another minute on those clouds for everyone to catch up, and then we'll start moving on to the lower, darker clouds. We'll actually add a couple more clouds in the same color first, but they're going to be different, and I'll show you where, and then we'll add some darker clouds. No worries, Deborah. Thank you. To answer your question, guys, where are we getting the paint? We're getting it in Curry's. But you can Google and see where around you, because we're all located in different areas of the world. So this is the brand of paint we use, or at least I'm using. We actually use quite a few different brands of paint. This is not the only paint we use. We use a lot of different paints. But this is the one I'm using right now. And you can just Google it and see what's around you that can deliver this paint, or maybe some stores that carry it. Yeah, if your paint is drying fast, try adding more water to it if you're using canvas, and try adding a larger, like thicker brush strokes, so thicker layers of paint. That will help you to slow down the drying process. Actually, if you very serious about painting and you find that that is an issue for you in general, that your paint dries too fast, there is a certain agents that you can buy in a art store that will slow down the drying process. I probably wouldn't recommend them because they're quite expensive, only for that reason. So, and I think you can just, by layering it a little bit thicker or using a little bit more paint, you can just avoid that. But if you find that it doesn't work for you, you can buy them and you add them like a little drop into the paint that you use on your palette, and it helps it to dry slower. All right, so I'm gonna move on to my next clouds, and I will use the same color. And I will go here on the bottom, and I'm gonna start at, oh, that's too late. I think I used a little too much water this time. Okay, so I'm gonna go on the bottom, and I'll start adding a couple horizontal clouds. You see right to the edge, but don't go past this point. So stop here and extend it a little bit more this way. I'll do some right here. In the same color we used there, just a different spot. Do a little bit right here. Yes, to answer your question, it does blend better if your canvas is wet, 100%. And that is all the clouds we're gonna do in this color. So we only have slightly darker purple clouds left, and then we are done with clouds. No more clouds here. So now I'm gonna take a little bit darker purple. So just to make your purple darker, do not add black under any circumstance. Just add a bit more blue and a bit more red. They will give you darker purple. It doesn't have to be super dark. It just has to be darker than what you have right now. So what I did to the same purple I just used, I just added a bit more red and a bit more blue, and it got much darker. And with this color, I'm gonna add a little bit more right here. You see pretty, I'm gonna use more paint this time too, because I want them a little more solid here. Doesn't mean I'm gonna make them blobby, but I'm gonna use more paint so they're less transparent. And I will add a little bit of that on the bottom here too. So like right on the edge where our water connects with our sky. So right here, you could totally go right over the edge of the water too. You don't have to just put it on the sky. You could put it on the water, no problem. And then I will add a little bit here, just a touch. And that is it for our clouds. No more clouds, unless you want to add more. Then it's totally fine, go for it. You can add as many clouds as you want, but I am not gonna be adding any more. I'm quite happy with this amount. So I'm gonna stop, no more clouds for me. Deborah, yes, I love that too. And the secret is you really have to layer it. Like this is so many layers. And when you add every second layer very lightly, and it's all about layering, it turns out a really, really beautifully realistic. Yes, Shutterbug leaves. I do continuously wet my brush. So what I do is every time when I run out of paint, do you know how I wash my brush in between? So sometimes if I just run out of paint, I would sometimes dip it in the water first and then dip it in paint. So it stays continuously wet. If your brush dries up, it's really hard to work with unless you're doing cloud layering. For cloud layering, dry brush is totally fine because you need that lightness of touch, right? So you don't want to have too wet or too much paint on your brush. But for the rest, when you do bigger brush strokes, like here, like the original, when we did the background, you want to have a wet brush. You don't want to use dry brush because it's hard to cover large areas when your brush is too dry. And blending is hard when your brush is dry too. That's why we try to, so what we did? Do you remember I told you that we're gonna do it really fast so our paint doesn't dry. That's exactly why. Once your paint dries, it's harder. It's not impossible, but it is harder. So I would recommend actually, if you find that we're going a little too slow for your paint, because again, we're all using different brands of paint, right? I would say wait until I show next step. So let's say if we just put it this blue and then we're gonna put purple and we're just waiting, I'm just waiting for everyone to catch up for me to add purple. Wait until I add purple and only then add blue and then right away purple. Otherwise it's gonna dry. So you just kind of have to go two steps behind in a way. So you know what's coming so you can do it right away after before your paint dries, if that makes sense. Jackie, that's funny. I love angel wing clouds. That's good. It's gonna be a good look. Yeah, you guys can use anything as your palette. And video will stay up on our YouTube pretty much forever. So you can watch it whenever you want. It doesn't have to be now. And yes, I do wet my canvas when we just started the painting. Guys, if you're just joining and you're not sure how we got here, because this is like 70% through, right? So we almost, well, we're not almost done, but we're getting there. We're getting really close. And if you're wondering how we got here, you can just scroll to the beginning. YouTube allows you to do that. Even while we're live, you can just scroll to the beginning and you can see me do it exactly. So if you just joined us and you're all ready to paint and you all have your paints laid out and you just want to do it now, but we are like 70% through, just scroll back. It allows you to do that. So you can totally do this. All right, we're going to move on to our bottom and we will add two colors. We're going to add, actually, yeah, we're going to add two colors, yellow and black. So you're going to grab your small brush first. We're going to add a little bit of yellow. Do you see there's yellow right here going down? So that's what we're going to do. You're going to grab your small brush and you will mix a little bit of white with a little bit of yellow. And with this color, we're going to add a couple of brush strokes right here. To make it look like there's a setting sun there. And I will add a couple of brush strokes going down, but those you don't want as straight. So feel free to give them some sort of shape. Do you remember how we added the wavy brush strokes? Try to maybe make those a little wavier too. And make some bigger, some smaller. You see? Not straight, more like crisscross in a way. Waves. We want those beautiful waves. And you see it's a little bigger as it's higher, and then as it goes lower, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. I love it. This is the part that makes this painting for me. This is where it comes alive, as soon as we add the sun. And after that, we're going to move to black. But for black, you're going to use different brush. You're going to use your medium brush for black. Yeah, too dry of a brush could be a problem. It's hard to say because we're all using such a different paints, right? And such a different brushes. So it could be a lot of different things. All right, guys. So I'm going to start adding my black. Black, I'm going to add, do you remember those wavy lines that we did in dark purple? So I'm going to do pretty much the same thing, but I'm going to do it in black, and I'm not going to go as close here. And I'll start from the edges. So you want a majority of it closer to the edge, and then a little less as you go closer to the middle. And of course, if you're doing your side, don't forget about your side. Ta-da! And at this point, our background is actually pretty much done. So the only thing that's left for us is to place a little hill right here, a little ground right here, tree trunk, and an actual tree. And yes, we will do a couple stars on top. And then we are done. Okay. So while we're still on a black, I'm actually going to add a ground. So there's a ground on the bottom here. So I'm going to start somewhere in the middle. It's going to be a bit taller in the middle, and then it's going to get smaller as I go to the sides. And you're going to line any shape. So something wiggly is perfect. And then color all the bottom with black. Okay, and once you guys have it, I'll give you a couple more minutes, but once you do have it, give me a thumbs up or some sort of sign in chat letting me know that you're good, and then I'll show you next steps. Melissa, yes, it is totally going to be available later, but if you want to start now, if you're ready for it now, you can just rewind to the beginning of this video and start watching from the beginning. Yay, thumbs up. That's great, guys. Who else is ready? Guys, it's not supposed to look like mine. Even my two paintings that I all both painted by myself with like maybe a month difference in time don't look the same, and that's perfectly normal. Just because there's so many factors that go into painting, right? It's not just your skill. It's also your mood. How do you feel? What brush do you use? What pigment do you use? And even if the same artist paints the same painting 10 times, it's not going to come out the same even twice. So it's perfectly normal for all of us to have very unique and different paintings. Yeah, I see a couple of readies. Can we do a Harry Potter? Potentially. Definitely not today because we're finishing up this one, but we'll definitely take that into consideration. We can make a Harry Potter painting, no problem. Guys, remember, there are no mistakes, just a happy little accidents, right? If you're just joining us now and you wonder how we got here, you can scroll to the beginning of this painting, to the beginning of this video, and you will see everything. All right, I see a lot of people are ready, so that's good. That means we can move on to our stars and a tree. I think I'm going to start with stars just because why not? So I'm going to grab small brush, or really you can use any brush. You can use the actual painting side of your brush, or you can use the other side of your brush. But if you decide to use the other side of your brush, make sure it's rounded. You know how some brushes have the end that looks like someone chopped it, and some have more rounded bottom? So you want to use a brush with more rounded bottom. It doesn't have to be small one. Small one is usually good, but if small one doesn't have that rounded bottom, you can use any other brush and then dip it in white, or you could use this side. And we're going to add a couple stars, but only on this dark section. And try to not add them right over your clouds. So a couple can go into your clouds, but generally try to position the majority of them around your clouds. Ta-da! Lots of clouds. Sorry, not clouds, stars. Lots of stars. And after we have stars, we're going to move on to our last part, which is our tree. So we're going to start with our tree trunk, and then we're going to dab some leaves on it. Sorry, guys. All right, so we're going to do tree trunk here, and then we'll do some branches, and then we're going to do some leaves. All right, so I'm going to start with my medium brush. I'll use the top edge of my medium brush first. So I will do this large tree trunks, and then I will switch to my small brush, and I'll finish branches with my small brush. So get it ready. And I'm gonna grab my medium brush, some black on the top edge, and I'll start my first tree trunk. So my first tree trunk is gonna be this one, if you can see it. This one. You can do as many as you want really, but I'm gonna be doing 3 like here. So I'm gonna start by putting this one. And all the tree trunks, we're gonna start from the bottom because we want them to be a bit thicker on the bottom, and as they go higher, we want them to get slightly thinner, 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 and so on. So it's very important, and do not make them straight. So I'll start it somewhere here, I would say. I'll start by putting just one line. You see, not straight. And now I'm actually gonna make it even less straight. So I'm gonna go over it again and just make it a little bumpier in a way. Do you see, it's thicker on the bottom, thinner on top. It's not straight at all. It has great texture, great movement. After that, I'm going to move on to my second tree. So the second tree and the first tree are going to grow from the same spot, just they're going to go different directions. Second tree is going to be a little bit thinner, ideally. So again, I started by putting one line, and I'm going to go make it a little bumpier. And actually, I'm going to retire my medium brush now, and I'll switch to my small brush. And with a small brush, I am going to add the last one, and the last one is going to be separate. I'm going to make it a little thicker so it doesn't look so different from the other two. You see, it's still thinner, but it's not as different. So here are my 3 tree trunks. And now I'm gonna start adding branches. So with the branches, it's very important. None of them are gonna be pointing just up. All of them are gonna be pointing up and to the side. So let me show you. All the branches, you guys remember this is very important. All the branches are gonna start from existing tree trunks and go out. So you're not gonna be bringing them from outside in. Always, always, always do your branches from the inside out. So let me show you. I'm gonna start with a really big branch right here. You see, up and to the side, and try to make it thinner as you go. I'm gonna add branch right here. You see, thicker where it connects to tree trunk, and thinner as you go. So you see lots and lots of branches. And guys, you're not going to see most of them in the end. We will cover them with leaves, but still, it is good to have nice branches, just in case you end up seeing some of them. All right, so I have lots of branches. I'm good with branches. I don't want to add any more branches. I'm quite happy with this amount. And now we're gonna add leaves. So let me show you how we'll add leaves. I'm gonna be using my medium brush again, but you guys can use either medium brush or a large brush if you want. And you see they're very similar texture, our leaves, to our clouds in a way. They have a movement, they're very transparent, but also you're gonna use more paint. So you do want the texture of a brush. You see all the bristles of the brush, you can see the texture, but also you want them pretty solid in the middle. So how are we going to do them? There are two ways. You can either dab or you can do brush strokes like you did on your clouds. Either one is fine, and I'll show you both. So if you decide to do brush strokes, you're going to do them on an angle, like this, starting in the middle of this little section. If you want to do dabs, you can do them too. So let me show you a section in the dabs. This would be dabs. And whichever technique you choose, either one of them is totally fine. Now, something to look out for, you want to have more solid middle. How do you see how both of them have pretty solid black middle and a bit more transparency around the edge? That's what you want, that solid middle and a bit more transparency around the edge. Another thing, all your blobs around the ends of the branches will have this shape in a way. So they're going to be fluffier in the middle, and then they're going to have more pointy ends. And this is going to be more solid, and this is going to be more transparent, as you can see here. So now we're going to add lots of them. Let me show you this tree again here. Do you see? We added them on all the ends of the branches first. And then after you're done with the ends of the branches, if you feel like you didn't have enough, you just add a little bit more. And they can totally overlap. That's not a problem. So do you see I added them on all the ends of the branches, right? And now I'm gonna add a couple in the middle too because it looks a little too bare here. So I'm just gonna choose a couple spots and add some there too. Anywhere you want, really. Yes, I think this is just the right amount. So I think I'm gonna stop. I'm quite happy with this. I don't want to add any more. Yes, you could totally use fan brush for leaves. Absolutely. You guys are very, very welcome. So guys, after this, we are done. So only thing you have to do is find a good spot, grab a small brush and sign it. So I'm gonna sign somewhere here. I'll put my initials. And that is it. We are officially done. Now again, guys, this tutorial is gonna be up on YouTube for a while. So you can rewatch this anytime you want. And also we have lots and lots of other events. We have quite a few tutorials already on YouTube here, free for you to watch whenever you would like. We have some free Facebook Live events coming up too. So if you want to like us and follow us on Facebook, you will be notified when we go live on Facebook because we do 50-50. We do half of our free events on YouTube here and half of our free events we do on Facebook. And also we have ticketed Zoom events pretty much every day. And a benefit of that is smaller groups and ability for you to actually show your painting because Zoom allows you the camera option, right? So you can get a feedback showing the artist your painting. So whatever option works for you guys, if you want to join us again, go for it. We would love to paint with you again. And yeah, if you have questions, feel free to ask. Feel free to email us, message us on Facebook. We check those messages quite often. So yeah, whatever works for you guys. And guys, I'm forgetting something very important. If you want to show us how it turned out, please take a photo and you can post it on event page. So we have event for this on Facebook, and on that event you can post that. I will actually post a little something, a little thank you note in that event, and in comments there you can totally post your painting if you would like. We would love to see them, and that way not just us but everyone else who participated can go there and see how they turned out because they look so good. I'm sure I'm excited. This is like my favorite part, to just wait until people post photos and see the photos. Susan, yes, it's Artists Palette Durham region. So it's the same, the name of company, that the name of our YouTube channel. And for those of you who are wondering about paint, I'll show it again. But again, we use different paints. This is just one of them, the one that we like. How many years does the paint last for? I am not 100% sure. It does expire. Not really expires, it dries up. So what happens with paint over years? It dries up and then you can't use it. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Please take a photos and post them on our event page on Facebook so we can all see them. Please, please, please. I am really looking forward to that. If you can, yeah, and join us for more events. Bye, guys.